I'm Lauren White, and I was lined up to be a paid speaker for an International Women's Day event in March 2025, and I got cancelled. Before I go on, I want you to know that I hold no negative feelings about any of this or what transpired. It's merely a blip in my career that isn't completely unfamiliar to me. I hold no resentment towards the organization. I hold no bitterness about anything that unfolded. It really is just another event in my business, in my life, that reflected back to me exactly who I am. First, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. I received a wonderful message, like a dream message via text in probably about October. Lauren, we're doing this International Women's Day event and we would love you to be involved. Here's what's included. Here's what we're asking of you. Here's where we'll fly you to. Would you like to do it? And immediately I wanted to say yes, but I did have a draft of the Power and Pleasure retreat in for those specific dates. I ran it by Sophia Palace and she was like, no, there are better dates anyway. You do the gig, we'll do the retreat later. I text back and said, I'm in. I can't wait. I have so much to share. I'm really, really looking forward to this. It feels completely aligned. I then received a message about 6 weeks later. Lauren, I am so sorry. I went ahead and booked you in for this event to speak at it, and the board are not happy at all. They see you as someone who is controversial. And now I'm trying to clean up the mess of what's transpired. And I am so, so sorry. I sat on my front steps and I really didn't feel anything. It was fascinating. I felt kind of a nothingness. This was something I was really looking forward to. And in the same breath, I knew it was completely out of my hands. I had no control over any of this. And what it really came down to was I don't want to be where I'm not wanted. I only want to be in spaces where I am wanted. And for the person who organized this, she was in a distressed state. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just make it better. Because it wasn't entrepreneurship, it was corporate, there were multiple parties involved. And as much of a disruptor as I am, and I'd love to come into these spaces and shake things up. If people are in fear of the message that I hold and what I am so convicted to say, and how I'm so convicted in who I am, if that feels threatening, if that feels controversial in itself, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be involved. And really, there is no money that can convince me to be where I'm not wanted. Not that it got to that point anyway. But if I'm not wanted somewhere, there's obviously a misalignment. And if I've been judged by my website, my socials, if I'm being judged for the word sexologist, which is someone who is qualified in the scientific study of human sexuality, which brings us life, if someone is judging that and sees that as controversial, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be associated. There's nothing there for me. It's not fruitful terrain for me or for the parties there. The sad thing about this one is that there were going to be parties present who weren't on the board who were really looking forward to this. What's just as sad, or maybe even sadder, is there was no endeavor, like no one endeavored to dig deeper into what I was actually going to speak about, which essentially had nothing to do with sex. Thing is, even if my talk was going to be about sex, why is that so scary? Why are people so threatened by talking about female sexuality and sensuality? That's the bigger question. But because it's a corporate environment, I wasn't going to go and do an International Women's Day talk about how to have better sex. I could have, but that's not my core message now. So that's not the core message I was going to go and present for International Women's Day. Naturally, it was going to be about authority. It was going to be about power. It was going to be about conviction and the pleasure that all of those states and frequencies generate. Of course, it was going to be about that, about the ways that we can experience power and the pleasure that power creates. True power when we're doing our true work in this world, and we know who the fuck we are, and we know that we are inherently worthy. That was going to be the take-home message. So as I sat on my front steps and I chatted to the person who tried to organize this, who I love, admire, and respect so deeply, I just felt this neutrality wash over me. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel a sense of sadness. I didn't feel a sense of relief, like, oh, thank God I don't have to do that speaking. There was nothing like that. There's nothing inherently positive. There was nothing inherently negative. I just noticed how I went into a state of absolute trust. This didn't work out. This was a source of adventure. I love speaking. I was going to have fun. I was going to illuminate the audience, get them invigorated, help them remember who the fuck they are, and have them walk away with a smile that they can't wipe off. I was going to do that. And I just sat there on my steps and just went, I can't do that because there's a barrier. And it felt like the fact that the word controversial was used meant that it's a patriarchal barrier. And what I was reminded of is A, how much this work is needed, B, that I've been quite cocooned in entrepreneurship, that this is a very normal circumstance in the corporate world that I've been sheltered from because I've been seeking opportunities within other entrepreneurial circles, and this one in the corporate world was quote unquote too much for them. But I never internalized it as I'm too much. I didn't internalize it as therefore I don't belong. What I did in my mind, because I was really monitoring myself in the most beautiful what sense of the word monitoring. I was just watching myself going, why don't I feel angry? And I did feel a sense of injustice that this is still happening. I felt a sense of the patriarchal ideology blocked women. And to be fair, there were men behind this decision. The patriarchal ideology blocked women from accessing accurate information about their fullest expression. That pissed me off. And I felt a sense of injustice around that. But I also felt a sense of trust, absolute trust that, and fucking almost Cheshire cat smile, that even if it's blocked in this avenue, we have the fucking internet. And these women that were going to hear me speak can hear me speak in other avenues on other platforms. Like there's nothing actually stopping them. Okay, they're not going to get it in the way that they thought, but what else can be created and how else can they access this? I am not feeling censored by this. I'm not feeling like I'm being held back by this decision or I'm being blocked, cock blocked. There's nothing like that. What I know to be true is I am so all in on who I am and what I'm here to do and the ways that I'm here to do it, that there is nothing that I can perceive as a setback. All it is a beautiful redirection where I get an opportunity to go even deeper. Okay, this didn't happen. Where am I being shown that I need to put my attention, my presence, my awareness, my energy into and go to those places and double the fuck down? I do not want to be where I'm not wanted. So I'm going to double down on where I am wanted, where I can have the most impact and I can have the most reach. That's not to say I'm not up for the challenge. Forever the Libra, balancing it out. That's not to say I'm not up for the challenge of a trickier audience or maybe a less aligned organizer. I am up for that. But if the answer is so blatantly no, then that's not going to happen anyway. So for sure, challenge, I'm going to go for it. But what I really, really desire and what I really, really experience a lot of pleasure out of are the places where there's going to be the most receptivity to the message. And so much pleasure from receiving the message and being together in the room. That's what my focus is. And that's why I do the Power and Pleasure Retreat. There's this sense of we're in the room together. You're here, you want to do the deep work, you're receptive, and you have a willingness. You have a desire to really see your shit and move through and get to the other side so that you can actualize what it is that you want. So spaces online and in person where I'm wanted, where I want to be and I get a sense that I'm wanted, that's everything. That's my focus. More and more and more and more and more of that. So I want you to know when things like this happen in business, it is never about the event. It is to a degree. You only have so much control over that. You can make that your mission if that's where you feel the call. It might be like, this is a fucking injustice. So I'm going to move in this direction and change this status quo. Where I am putting the focus right now is on who am I being? How would the most ideal, exalted version of myself respond? And I'm so satisfied to report that the most exalted version of me responded to this. And I've still got a lovely little gap in my calendar for International Women's Day, which, interestingly enough, has been marked by so many negative events for me, unfortunately. But I'm still open. I'm still open to something absolutely extraordinary happening this coming International Women's Day. Something that's in full alignment, something that feels really expansive. What this gets to mean for you is whenever you feel, if something like that happening to you would generate a sense of disappointment, a sense of grief, a sense of loss, like you've lost something in business. I've lost that speaking gig to someone else because I've lost technically I've lost that speaking gig because someone else is going to fill it, someone less controversial. What I want you to know is I don't see that as a loss. I just see it as a redirection, and I get to choose the language around it. I get to choose the frequency. I get to choose how I respond, and I get to create a new opportunity from something that's redirected me. I don't know what that is yet based on this event, but when I know and I'll act accordingly. In fact, I already know that if I do an event where we can all be in the room together, it'll be fucking magnificent. And it's just people who want to be there, who want to be in the frequency of power, who want to be in the frequency of pleasure, who want to be in the frequency of conviction. And above all, those that want to be the authority of what they do and who they are. That's what you get to find out about yourself when something quote unquote shit happens in your business. It's where you get to take the power back. You've been doing business from control. You've been trying to create opportunities from control. You've tried so hard to be strategic. You're trying so hard to make it happen, when a lot of that is admirable. But if it doesn't happen, you get to find out something about yourself that you were never, ever going to find out from having everything working out perfectly for you. There's absolute gold in it if you let yourself go there and if you let yourself look there. And this is the kind of leadership that your people are looking for. They're looking for you to be in the frequency of conviction, to say, I know what I know. This is what's true for me. Nothing's going to make me waver or wobble. I am in this and I'm staying here no matter what happens. That's what gets to be your reality. And I have something for you. It's my new one-time session, Embodied Conviction. This is where we lock in your conviction so you don't just play in it, but you stay in it. In our time together, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to let go of and exactly what you need to do in order to go out into the world and bring your biggest vision to life. Because your biggest vision needs your boldest energy. Go to laurenwhite.com.au/session to secure your time.